Okay, good morning, everybody. We're just waiting for Mr. Okhai to join us. The moment he joins, we'll comment. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. So, Mr. Okhai is having some difficulty joining us, but he will join very soon. So, I just thought I should introduce this morning's session. So, I need to quickly work on my microphone. Just give me a second. Okay, so today we're talking about directing and the director's vision. During the first session we had a couple of days ago, took us through the history of filmmaking. We talked about the peculiarity of different directors and how important it is for each director to have a vision, to have a personality, and to have a unique approach to filmmaking. And I think that was a very informative session, and that session is available on the website right now. So anybody who wants to go back to recap on what Kenneth said can go to the website, and the link is there on the homepage. Even the session right now is being streamed live on our website. So for those who are not here with us, they're still watching live on the website. So today we're talking about the director's vision. Usually when a director is called upon to direct a movie, it is expected that the director should go through the screenplay that has been sent to him and perhaps come up with a treatment to confirm the story to his own expectations, not just necessarily to copy and paste what has been written in the screenplay. I'll give you a little example. Like there was a movie I shot a couple of years back. I think that was 2016, called Behind the Wheels, and in that movie, eventually everybody remembered about that movie was that an actor was set on fire. But in the story, that wasn't even there. There was an explosion somewhere in the middle of the story. And when I looked at it, I knew, okay, this movie has to start strong and it has to end strong. So what I did was that I took this screenplay and I reworked it. And I started the story with the tanker accident. And there was a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of carnage. But then the explosion didn't happen then. So it's more like a non-linear way of telling the story. So I decided to start with a very striking scene at the beginning of the movie, and then I delved into the story and started from the background again so that people could follow and see how we got to that point that was shown at the beginning of the movie. And so, in the middle of the movie, there's an explosion, which wasn't over exaggerated in the screenplay. But then what happened was that I looked at it and I realized that there's a very strong potential for something that could make the movie very memorable with that incident. And so I took that scene and I put it at the end. And then I spoke to the executive producer and said, what I'd like to do is to have the guy who's close to the tanker when it explodes to go up in flames, and then he'll be running around looking for help. And that character was meant to be just a secondary character, not even a main character in the movie. But then I made him a main character in the movie because he was the one talking to the people at the depot about safety and everything. So of course the viewers will have some kind of likeness for him. And so when that kind of terrible thing befalls him, and what would have managed to do is to tilt the sympathy of the viewers, just like empathy of the viewers towards him. And so we moved that to the end, and whereas there was no situation of someone on fire in the screenplay, and it was not in the budget. So the first thing I had to do was to tell the EP, and then we agreed that we could factor that into the whole thing, and we had the budget to make that happen. And so at the end of the day, my vision for the movie at that point in time was to make it very emotional, to tell the story that was going to be told, to pass the messages across, but at the same time, build a kind of strong bond between the viewers and certain characters. And so at the end of the day, when people talk about that movie today, they don't talk about the lead actor who's Kelechi Udegbe or the sub-lead who's Gregor Jeffo. Everybody just remembers Aniyo who went up in flames. But I just thought I should mention this because at the end of the day, that wasn't even part of the screenplay. But the director, I just realized this is what I want to do with this. And then when the guy goes up in flames, and because he's a character that I've made people to love, people are going to be like sad and they're going to be attached to him. And then I'm going to kill him at the end of the movie. And the moment he dies, the movie ends. And so what was I trying to achieve? I wanted to show whereby the guy dies and people are feeling, okay, he's involved in the accident and he goes up in flames. And then we see him at the hospital, he's on the bed and he begins to convulse. And then at that point, what I want is for the viewers to begin to hope that he won't die. And so the moment the viewers begin to hope that he won't die, that means I have their attention. And then because for me, one thing I like to do is to end my movies strong so that the end of the movie should be as powerful as the beginning. And then the end of the movie should be something that is open-ended so that people can go back and begin to debate on it and tell their own aspect of the story that I didn't tell. And so the moment I realized that, okay, yes, people will be attached to this character now and they'll be hoping he didn't die. He won't die rather. And then what I want to do is kill him. And then the character dies. And I end the movie right there. So I just said I should run through this because That's what Mr. Ohio we're talking about today, how a director comes up with his vision for each particular movie. So I think we're like 19 in this chat room right now. And if they gave the same script to 19 of us, we'll all interpret it in different ways because we all have different visions. For me, even when I direct something that is meant to be comedy, it's always dark. There is nothing I've directed that is not dark. So I'm a surrealist and I like dark things. It's not, I'm not possessed or I'm not, devil not in my head. It's just the way I'm wired. I like telling dark stories. I like dealing with themes of pain and grief and the inexplicable. And so when I am given a screenplay to work on, it's naturally one of the things that I begin to look for ways to execute in it so that, yes, you see any movie I've done, then there's something that just connects all of them, irrespective of their genre. So that's what we're talking about today. So I'd like to invite Tulu Ajay to just throw some light on this as well, because I know he's also someone who has he has a lot of experience making certain kinds of movies. Tolu tells stories that stick. Every time you see a Tolu Ajayi movie, even most of the short ones, there's always that story that you can't forget. I know there was one we saw at RTF like some years back called Closed, and it was a story about a boy who was illiterate, and that was played by Shehu Ajayi, if I'm not wrong. And from the beginning, let me not give too much away, but I'm just saying, yeah, Tolu, I followed his work for some years now, and what Tolu does is he engages you at the beginning with a very strong message that he wants you to just decipher and go home with, and then he begins to walk you through the process. And at the end of the day, I don't think there's any movie he has done where the vision is not strong at the end. And for me, what I take away from his movies is the fact that yes, there's a message that is strong, that is introduced at the beginning, and at the end, it's unquestionable whether anybody will get that message, because everybody always gets the message at the end of the day without him trying to sell it too hard. So he makes use of a lot of visual storytelling, a lot of subtext and everything. But at the end of the day, the story is told. So Tolu, if you don't mind, I'll give you the floor before Mr. Okhai joins us.
Good morning, Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Stanley. I'm actually sorry. Hold just give me a minute. I actually came here to listen. Thank you for
Yeah.
so many kind words. It's ridiculous high praise coming from someone like yourself. Well, and yeah, I don't have any thoughts formed, but I'll just take the alley oop from what you said. Um, Directing for me, while it's something that is, I think it's a bit of a privilege to be able to gather so many people together to help you put an idea together. So I think you, the maker, you have the responsibility of leading your people down the right path, or down the most rewarding path for them, and in a way that they all get to be part of a project they're all a part of, and they think is significant. The storytelling that's been very impactful to me is often from a thematic space. I like themes. Even if I'm given a script and the story doesn't have it, I start to look for how it thematically links to an idea. Um, and these ideas often come from things I read, things I've seen, art I've seen, either photographs, paintings, and what I try to do, I'm still working on it, is to link as many references as possible, in the work I've done, to say, hey, do you know that if this is possible, do you know that this is also a thing that exists? And when I do, more of my films have more social messages these days, or they're all linked in some thematic ways. So what I often try to do is not to so much bash you over the head with an idea. As much as possible, I try and build a world. Um, my background, I had some illustration in my background, so I'm always trying to, I'm always thinking of the film from perspective of like a sketch that you ink in, then you add color, and you now probably add a final layer of finishing. So when you think about your directing work like that, you don't rush to direct. What you want to do is, what is the sketch for the frame I'm creating or the film I'm making? What are the pillars of the story? What is this story about? I think the film I made called The Encounter was a film which was, for me at that time, a pretty risky film, but it was such a powerful idea that I thought, okay, let me just try and make this film. And we were dealing with the concept of Biafran War, and what we wanted to do was to examine the conversation. And it's a fictional work; it's nothing real. But the core idea we were thinking about was, if these two guys could be in a room to sit down and talk about it, decisions about where they were going to go, how would it go, and what are the narratives about it. And to do that, I did a lot of research. So then from then on, I brought on collaborators who worked from the vision of the film to cinematography, which Odash did, to artwork, which Uche did. And little by little, the frame was filled, and with the inking in being done in more story edits done by me to create the film we made in 2015. And I'm still proud of the film. I'm not sure I'll make it today, but I'm super proud of what we were able to make out of it then. Uh, over the time, I've found a way to make plenty of social messages, and I've always taken it as a privilege to be able to present my ideas to the world, to make sure that it's kind of complete, it's ready, not half formed, and to try and make the idea endure. So the idea behind the film is seen through the many elements that are there, from the soundtrack, from the acting, to the cinematography and everything else. And yeah, and the frame and what we put into the frame. So Stanley, I hope this is my most ad hoc presentation ever. But it's true, and I hope, to a certain extent, you all find your individual visions and the things that make you think conceptually, so that you're able to tell very bold, very courageous stories, about your world, your life, and the things that you think are super important, that you think should be in front of the frame. I've been called a message director. Stanley, I don't know why Stanley said it, but it's just that I like themes. I like themes over spectacle, and I can create spectacle as well. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Stanley, for the opportunity to speak. I wish you guys a really great time today.
I should be thanking you for sharing your experience with us. So, okay, so we have Mr. Okhai in the room now, and he's going to take the floor right now. So, Mr. Okhai, if you don't mind, you have the floor, sir.
Let me, first of all, it's important that when you're doing anything that you know your audience. Let me try and find out those who are, how many of us are here? 3? Hello?
22. We are
22.
23.
Okay,
yes,
23, that's true.
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, let me pay tribute to Tolu, who has just spoken. And then I want to acknowledge Kenneth, who did a brilliant job the other day. And today we're going to be looking at the director's vision. Actually, I have to make a confession. He actually thought that the presentation was going to be by 12. I don't know how I got the time mixed up, and I was going to prepare a few things in the time in between, but no excuses. We're here, we'll talk about what we do and the craft that we practice. And excuse me that I'm in the car. So I think in talking about a director's vision, there are a few things that are important for us to take note of. First of all is to understand who a director is. I mean, basically at the heart of a creative team is a director. Every picture would usually, I mean, every movie, you would usually refer to it as a director's film. And it's not for nothing that it's called a director's film. The reason is because everything, all the elements that you see, and everybody that works in that team works towards achieving, the vision and the the picture that the director has in his mind. You would usually describe the frame, as he was talking about. I'm talking about Toluna, as a mise en scène, which is basically what you see what you see on that screen. And what are the elements that you see on the screen there? You would see the actors and their dialogues, which you would hear, of course. You would see the use of colors. You would see props. You would see, basically, the design. You would see all of the elements that are put together. Art department would do their work. Sound, of course, would do their work. Every department. I mean, so what you see on that screen, how do you bring it about? First of all, as a director, you do not just get on set. And this is why we find, particularly in Nigeria, where, I mean, a lot of people call themselves directors. Basically, what they just do is just apply a formula. You should take a master and then begin to do your reverse shots and all that, and then you conclude and then move to the next scene, which is why it's easy to say you can finish a movie in about 4 days or 5 days and all of that, and you move on to the next, because there's no thought into it, no creativity. As a director, the first thing you do as soon as you pick up your script is, as soon as the script comes to you, is to look at it. I would advise, don't rush into anything with just reading a script once. The truth is, every time you pick up a script, something new drops in. Look at that script at least 6 to 7 times. For every time that you look at that script, a lot of things will begin to come. A lot of directors would have watched so many films over the years. And so pictures begin to form in your mind. And the vision that you have, whatever you see on the screen, is basically what you have in your mind. And so what are those things that shape what comes into what those visions that you have in your mind? Your background has a lot to do with it. Your philosophy has a lot to do with it. Your experiences have a lot to do with it. Where you're coming from has a lot to do with it. Tolu talked about being a social messenger. Even that influences what you do, which is why no two directors will come out with the same movie. It's a matter of perspective. How I interpret, again, that's another word for a director, an interpreter. How I interpret a script may be completely different from how another person is going to interpret that script. And so there are approaches to creating this vision. The first thing you do is look at your script, for instance. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to shoot this? What is this story about? If it's a boy meets girl, how do you want to tell this story? It's true that the scriptwriter, and let me just at this point talk about the issue of scriptwriters. I know during Keregiang's session, somebody was talking. Scriptwriters are very passionate about their work. And so they usually want whatever they say to be exactly the way it should come out. But That's not always the case. The director has an image in his mind. Boy meets girl. You might decide to situate it in, uh, Shakespeare did his own Julius Caesar. You might decide that your own is the Titanic, for instance. It could be somewhere else. But you look at it and then say to yourself, how do I want to tell this story? What will best serve this story for me? What is the most effective way I want to be able to tell this story? And remember, when I started at the beginning, I said I wanted to know my audience. It's easy to say I have a global audience, but a global audience does not say anything about how you are going to communicate your vision. It is important that you have in every message is targeted. Who are you targeting this message? And I'll give you a small example. I've done a lot of social work. Most of the work I do is I do a lot of work for NGOs, mainly foreign-based NGOs in different countries, messaging that they want to do movies and all of that. And sometimes you want to say to yourself, okay, fine, you want to do this movie. Find out what is the end goal? What do these people want to achieve? You may want to tell your story you may want to tell a story in a particular way, but what is the end game? I'm talking about those in the social sector, and I'll come back to the regular one. What is the end game? What do they want to achieve? What do you want to achieve? How do you align the goals of what they want to achieve with what you want to achieve? That helps you define who your audience is. The entertainment element will get it across to everybody. There's no doubt about that. But if in the end the message does not get across, then you have not passed any message. If you look at this movie, I need some help here. I'm trying to remember this movie now. Was based on the environment. What's it now? Very, very, very popular. The most popular before Wakanda. Is anybody there? What's it called now? Based on this alien. Oh, jeez.
Alien Man in Black, you mean?
No. It was a very big, one of the biggest movies within the last 5-10 years. Avatar. Who said that, I beg? You hear me? God bless you.
Avatar.
Yes. Avatar was a story on the environment. I don't know how many of you are aware of that. It was basically a message on the environment. Now, if you looked at it ordinarily, of course, you get your entertainment value and all that. But there was a messaging behind that particular concept. Every time you want to tell, so what is the message? What is the best way to serve this message? And in doing that, it's important. One of the things that are so important, that is very important, is that in passing this message, one example I usually give, particularly those who want to do social message films, I give the example of children. How do you serve drugs to children? If you give them a tablet, you must put it, whether with chocolate or whatever. The coating is the attraction. That's what draws the children, because it's like a sweet, to them. That is the entertainment value. And then the messaging itself is subliminal. Kenneth was talking about semiotics the other day, where you use code signs, to pass messages. In Nigeria, for instance, where you see a man wear red, or you see a hut with plenty of red and white colors, automatically you know that this is Babalawo. So there are some things that you don't see, but they're implied, and you see them and you just know. So at the subconscious level, messages are being passed. So you first of all, the entertainment value is primed to be able to get it to travel very far, and then you send your messages in. You put your messaging in very, very subtly, not so much in your face. And so in crafting in crafting your vision, you have to understand what is the message that you want to pass across. Who is your audience? Because that now begins to shape how you begin to think and plan, and how you begin to think about your art direction, how you begin to think about the kind of actors that you use, how you begin to think about the setting, the props, and all of that. So that is very, very important. Now, the next element that you need to look at is, okay, find, this is a message I want to pass across. Where do I want to pass this? I mean, what is the best way to serve this message that I want to pass across? You could decide, you have a script, of course, but like I said, no director is a slave to any script. Do you want to do it? Some directors have dark humor, and so you see it reflected in the way they present their works. Some, you see, no matter how they do, you will always see elements of comedy, because for them, they see life in a very, very, they see life from a very light perspective. Don't get me wrong, both of them can be very, very effective. And so, which is why sometimes you might get into a set and you see a director and you begin to disagree. You may be another director, and then you begin to disagree. Sorry, someone is calling. There's no way to, I'm using my phone. You say a director and you want to disagree with his method. You cannot disagree with the director's method unless you understand what is going on in his mind. What is he trying to do and how is he trying to achieve it? From where you sit, you don't have the total picture. You do not know what it is that he wants to be able to achieve. You don't know the end from the beginning like he does. He knows the plans, he knows the payoffs, he knows the conflict points and how he wants to introduce them. And so it's important to just stay aside, respect yourself, I usually say, knowing that, trusting that he knows what he's doing and exactly how he wants to convey his message. And so the approach he wants to use is also, he then decides, after knowing his audience and what he wants to put across, then he now decides what approach he wants to use to pass across this message. And don't forget what I said earlier on. Our personal experiences come to bear. You cannot give what you don't have. If you're doing something on a show, you either read it up, you would have experienced it yourself, which is what helps you even in directing the actors. Either you were a patron yourself, or you read it up, or you have heard people's stories and all of that. Now, these elements are the things that help you to infuse in your mind's eye how you want to craft. Let me take a scene, for instance, just a particular scene that you want to pass across. So that is also very, very important. So we need to know the message, we need to know our audience, and we need to know how we want to be able to pass this message across. Now, what are the elements that you're going to infuse in telling your story? The crew that you're working with is so important that as a director, whatever it is that you have in mind, you want to be able to do, that you communicate very, very effectively. Now, some of your most trusted aids, I will just mention here now, in passing your vision across. One of them is your DOP, the director of photography. It is important that you sit with him and let him know exactly what you want to be able to achieve at every stage, in the scene. And this is the reason why a lot of people work with particular DPs, because sometimes before you even say it, he can already read your mind. Remember, if we're talking about vision, it is all in your mind. This is what you want to put across. This is what the audience sees at the end of the day. And so the DP is somebody you need to sit with, very, very important. And you communicate to him the look, the feel, how you want, a particular scene to come out. Now, it could be that you want a particular scene to be, how do I put it now? When I say dark, I'm not talking about the picture that you see, but the messaging, the mood that you want to convey across in order to be able to pass a message. It's important that you sit down and trust the DP, having told him exactly what you want and the important is to tell him what you want to be able to achieve at the end of that particular scene. This is what I want. This is how I want, the audience to be able to feel at the end of the day. He sits down, he's asking you questions, and you communicate together. Apart from the overall look, of course, of the film, scene by scene, you discuss with him, and then trust him to do the lighting, trust him to get the right lens to achieve. Of course, you have an idea of lens as well, but to achieve the particular effect that you want to be able to put across, because of course you're telling stories, not just with your lights, you're telling stories with your lenses, you're telling stories with your angles and the size of shots and all of that. So you sit down, you discuss with him, and then convey this particular message. Your set dresser as well, the art department, very, very important. When there are times when, let me use, what can I use as an example now? I've seen situations where you get actors, typically in Nollywood, people who are very, very conscious how they look on the scene. Of course, say that these are very inexperienced actors because you are just a tool in the hands of the director. It is important that the director, so that you don't have conflicts on set, that you give what is called a director's note. In a particular scene, what is happening there? You call your actor and discuss with them, or of course, this is what the scene is about, but this is the objective of this particular scene. And if they understand exactly what it is that you want to convey and what you want to achieve in that particular scene, in this case, you're conveying your vision or what is in your mind. If you are able to give them a proper note, you can get an A performance from your actors. Where there's a problem is usually with directors who don't know exactly what they want to achieve in a particular scene. What they just do is block a scene. You've blocked a scene, fine. So to what end have you blocked that particular scene? What is the, how does that scene contribute, to the overall, is that a plant? Is it a payoff? How does it contribute, towards the overall story? The way an actor dresses in that particular scene, the particular makeup for that particular scene, how the scene is lit and all of that, how does that contribute to the particular scene? So communication is very, very important. But to be able to communicate effectively, you must know exactly what you want. You must know exactly what your objectives are. You must have a picture in your mind. And so you do that. You sit down with the actors. The note is, when I say note, it's not a written note. It's a verbal note. The director's note is one of the most important tools for conveying the director's vision. You must sit down, let the actors know, sit them down, let them know what the objective of the scene is, who has the scene, what it is that you want to be able to achieve with that scene. Then you will get their maximum cooperation, because then you have carried them as allies, in the production. Now, the same goes for other team members. I'm singling out actors, I'm singling out arts department, I'm singling out the DP for a reason, and that includes sound and the rest of them as well. In post-production, the same is also very, very important, especially if you're not, one of those things that is very important, sometimes some people work with certain editors for a reason, not because the particular editor is good, because there's nothing, for me, as far as I'm concerned, there's not like an excellent DP. If you go and you are talking about excellent DP, then it means, don't get me wrong, DPs they are excellent DPs, but a DP is only good enough, as good as, your as the image and the vision that you have. Otherwise, you will have a movie that is just pure artwork from the beginning, a pure work of art. Every frame is beautiful from the beginning. You get into the movie. So how was the movie? Excellent. So what happened? Oh, it was beautiful. You should have seen the shots. You should have seen. It just tells you that obviously the director lost it there. Okay. And why do you see some movies? Shots are gritty, shaky cam. You look at the backgrounds. Nothing, but you don't even notice them, because you are engrossed in the message and the messaging, because it was effectively executed, masterfully executed. So as a director, you must be very, very careful. You must communicate very effectively, otherwise you will lose control to the DP. Because every DP wants to show off his craft, and you're not going to blame them. The makeup artist will want to show off her art. You're not going to blame her. The costumier will want to show off her art. You're not going to blame them. The art, the set decorators, the props person, everyone wants to show off their art. You're not going to blame them. The reason you're not going to blame them is because if there is a lack of leadership, direction as to where you want to go to and what you want to be able to achieve in your storytelling, then each department will take over. And then you will see a movie that looks beautiful, all right, but it will be disjointed because there's no proper communication, okay? And this is where the issue of the vision comes in. First, it must start from your mind. If you have not seen the image in your mind, it will be difficult to see it on the screen. You must find time to sit down and think and see the scenes unfold. It is important that every director sees every scene unfold first in his mind. Because when you see it unfold, you hear the voices, you see the movements and the blockings, and sometimes even the image, the lighting and all that in your mind. Only when you have something in mind would you know when it has been achieved, and then you'll be able to get the total picture of where you're going and to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So and in conveying your vision, because it's one thing to be able to have a vision, that vision is something that you need to be able to convey both to investors. You need to be able to convey to your cast and crew, and your partners. For investors, how do you convey that vision? Beyond, you might call it you might call part of it the directors and the treatment and all that. But in conveying this vision, I think it's important that your passion shows through when you're talking to investors. Why do you want to do this film? They must see that emotional investment first in you. Do you want to do it only because you want to make money or because it's a job? If I don't feel it, I won't put my money down for you. So first of all, there must be something in it for you, something that makes you want to do this job. Is it something about cancer? Is there a friend you have lost with, through cancer before, or have you seen someone go through the pain before? If that communication comes through to me as an investor and I hear, because I'm giving you that project to do, then I know that you're emotionally invested in it. I know that this is a story you want to tell, because you must show that you really want to tell this story and that this story means a lot to you. And so, which means that there'll be sustaining power. Okay. So how do you want to tell this story? So this is where you begin to talk about the style that you want to use. Are there references? Of course, there's nothing new under the sun. What other movies have you seen, of similar genre, of similar look and feel that can be referenced to give people an idea of the vision that you have in your mind? So it's always important to have references. So what genre, what type of what you call it now, what look and feel, who are the actors you want to use for it, and then I must be able to see my mind as you're speaking how the actors will fit in various roles. Usually I do not like stereotyping people, but sometimes you have to just have an idea, because you have seen how effectively that person has carried that role, before. So it's important to be able to convey, that. Let's know who you want to use, why you want to tell this story, what is the look and feel, of this story, and why you think the world needs to, watch it, and why you think you're the best person to do it. How do you convey the fact that you're the best person to do it? Sometimes what you've done in the past could help. And that's why I encourage a lot of people, you do not necessarily wait until you've done a feature. You can do shorts. The short that you do can also speak for you, because it shows. I've known a lot of people who have, just from shorts, people have seen what they've done before, and then they give the opportunity to do bigger things, because it's like every scene, after all, is a short film. And so if you're able to do one, you can do two, you can do 10, you can do 50. Okay. So you need that as well, to be able to put your vision across. If I think I just stumbled into when Tolu was talking as well. Sometimes, if you have your drawings and your sketches, they are very, very important. If you don't draw, no problem. If you have someone who's able to do it, or you have someone, an artist or someone from the arts department who can sit with you for you to be able to show, even for your actors individually, how you want them to look, the kind of look you want, the kind of costumes for each of the actors, put apart from, the storyboard itself, how you want each person to be, the kind of location that you have in mind, a drawing of it or a reference of it. It helps, because then what you're doing is taking what's in your mind and passing the message across. Basically, it's all about communication. But if you don't have anything in your mind, there's nothing that you can communicate. So basically, your job as a director is to communicate that vision that you have in your mind. First, from paper, you're able to see it in your mind's eye. And it is what you see in your mind's eye that you're able to, put across to your team and to your investors for them to see and buy into. If people do not buy into that vision, your picture cannot come out well. It cannot come out effectively. And I was talking about the issue of writers earlier on. I want to just address that very, very at this point. For writers, I think it's important to know that what you put on paper does not have life. Someone has to give it life, and in giving it life, there are so many factors that come into it, and that's where the director's experience, and that's where the director's perspective comes in, and that's what he's able to do along with the team. And so when he picks up his script, what you see on paper and think that is very achievable, or not just achievable, but that is very exciting. On the location, the director, in blocking, talking with the actors, is able to see something different. He's able to get a new perspective that probably adds more life to it, or that changes it. So it's important to respect the director's point of view and know that, and trust him to know that at that point is the best person to interpret what is, those, should I say, the dead letters, and bring them to life. I don't want to talk too much, because I was supposed to be preparing the slides to present when I thought it was 12. But maybe we can go into question and answers, and then it might make it more. I'll make it a bit more interactive, and then I think I'll do better justice to it. Stan? Stanley?
Yes, sir. Yeah, on point. So, yeah, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody has a question or a comment or a reaction, or someone just needs to contribute to what he has said so far, I know we have a lot of capable people in the room. Kenneth is also a session in directing. So the floor is open, guys. Yomi, all you guys, let's do this.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Prince Cyril. Can you hear me, my president? Hello?
Yeah. Hello, I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my president. My name is Prince Cyril, and I must say I'm very happy to be part of this masterclass, and it has really impacted on me a great deal, and I really, really appreciate you, my president, for the lecture so far. I just have a little question, concerning what you said, based on experience. So yes, but the question is, sometimes you as a director. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Hello,
We're
yeah.
just not recording this.
Okay. All right. So the question is, sometimes you have some actors on your set who are perhaps exposed, than you as the director, because some of them do a lot of traveling and all of that. So some of these things and these experiences, they have them outside, So when you bring them to your set and you, as a director, you have a vision, of what you're trying to paint, based on what you have seen before now. And then, maybe you're trying to block the scene or something, and the actor tells you, director, how about if it is done this way? Don't you think it will be better? Or I have seen stuff like this, and this is how this is how viewers will best see it. And you as a director, you have your original picture of what you wanted, which is different from what he's saying. But what he's saying is also nice. In this kind of scenario, how do you handle it? That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy that this question came up. It's a recurring decimal, particularly with I won't just use young directors, but directors who probably okay, let me just use young directors for the sake of it. Remember one thing: as a director, you are the one that is telling the story. That's very, very important. Don't argue with an actor if he tells you, if the very experienced actors come and tell you, oh, God, this, that, I say, okay, really? Thank you very much. I appreciate. I'll give you. I'll share something with you very. Okay, I'll come to that later. So what you do is, first of all, say, okay, thank you very much, sir. And then, but remember, the reason he's saying that is probably because you did not give him a note in the beginning. I talked about a director's note. Remember, I say it's not a written note, it's a verbal note. Okay? What do you want to achieve? Because that's the only thing that can give you the best interpretation from the actors, the best performance. You need to be able to tell them what the objective of that scene is. Do you understand what I'm saying? Tell them why they have, whose scene it is and why you want them to do what they want to do. If you just leave it to them, of course, they will give you ideas. And to use the word, what is suggested is better means you obviously don't know what you have no idea about, how, what it is you want to achieve in the scene. I mean, that he has seen it done elsewhere and it looks great doesn't mean that it is applicable in this particular set. Because on this particular set, you are telling a story. He does not know why a spoon dropped somewhere or why somebody picked up a particular spoon, okay? Or why you decided to drop a particular line. You understand what I'm saying? So it is, he doesn't have that total picture. You are the one that have that picture. So I think one of the things that's very important is to do your homework very well. Make sure that you know what you are to achieve in every scene and why you are taking the shot that you're taking. But more importantly, give your actors their notes. Tell them what it is you want to be able to achieve and trust them to give you their best, because each of them is working to bring out the best for your vision. But if you do not have that vision, you do not know exactly what you want, anybody will suggest. The actors will hijack. They will begin to compete on your set at your cost. I don't know if I have communicated, if what I've said is making sense.
Yes.
So I started by saying that, tell him thank you. Okay, so let me just say this now. And then appreciate him for what he has said. Give him the note. Tell him why you want to achieve it. Make him feel good. Don't make him feel bad. There's a very good approach to criticism. This is an aside, but I want to share that here. It's called the sandwich approach. Okay. If you and this is important, even when you work with people and they're not giving you what you want. If you want to criticize the person, give a little praise, pass the message, then end with the praise. Okay? Oh, this is wonderful. But you know, if only, but that was a great suggestion. Thank you very much. That's a sandwich approach. And you can use that in dealing with the actors as well, and you can have your way.
Victor, can I add to what you said? Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
From my experience, both in acting and in directing,
Yes.
and in coaching actors, I think that a lot of times, I think, first of all, the key is for the director to actually know what they want, why they're telling the story, the way they're telling the story. And if you think that I like what he said, that, okay, what the actor is saying is also nice, but also nice in what way? Is it also nice visually? That doesn't make any sense. But if it's also nice in the way it's telling the story. So if you sometimes you would give your director's note to the actor. The actor gets the full, if he's a good actor, he should get the whole script, like he should get the meaning of the story in his head. And then if you feel as a director that he has a good point, but you're like, I don't know, maybe what I heard in that question was only my hearing, but what I heard was something like a fear of losing the director's grasp of what's happening in the movie. But the really good directors, they're not afraid about that. All they want to do is tell the story the way they want to tell it. That's what the main goal. And filmmaking is a teamwork. So if the whole team is it's the director's job to make the whole team work towards that goal, including your actors, including everyone, including the DOP, just like you said, Victor. So if you think that the actor said something nice, I would suggest to go and test it back against the way you want to tell the story. I think that's what you were saying as well, Victor.
Yeah, sure, I agree. I mean, if obviously, if it works, it's a plus. You know, it's a plus.
Everybody benefits if it's telling the story in a better way. But I think as a director, you really, really, really have to know how you want to tell the story in order to really assess what the actor is saying, what anybody's saying. Because not just the actor, sometimes the DOP will give you another point of view as well.
Yes. So,
okay, can I say something?
Yeah. Okay. Someone else say something?
Just a contribution.
Right.
I think this is, well, from my own subjective point of view, I believe that if I've gone on set after doing months of pre-production and going over my pre-production over and over again and concluding to do what I want to do the way I want to do it, I think it's rather abrupt for someone to come and start telling me about any changes on set. It's not as if, it's not about pride, but again, I won't try to sound humble and too nice to say that I'll be open to someone coming to give me suggestions when I'm filming, except the person thinks I've not done a good job in preparation for the shoot, and which again would be again an insult. There are so many ways. I think for me, what I do when I want to make a movie is I talk to the actors. I tell them what I want to do. I totally explain what they are going through in each scene and the emotions and why the reactions and actions and all of that. And I let them understand, okay, this is the reason for everything that's happening. So everybody knows the reason why I want to do everything, either in the pre-production meetings or during the rehearsals or everything. And again, I take my time to have a meeting with both cast and crew as much as possible. And I let people understand that while I'm filming, it is not the time for you to come and give me suggestions. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to sound humble and I'm not trying to sound proud. I'm just saying what I do. Because when you're coming to with those suggestions, and of course, I've only experienced it once with a very big actor from the East and all of that. It was the first time I was working with him and we didn't know each other. And he came with the whole aura of what, okay, he was used to. And Yeah, of course. I briefed him. I told him everything. I told him what to do, and I told him what I wasn't expecting. All those ad libs that weren't going to add to my story. I said, I don't want this. I know you are used to doing this, but in this movie, it won't be done because it's not part of my story, and it's going to water down what I'm trying to do. So please, I will really appreciate if you don't try to do those things. So it's not as if I didn't tell him. And he kept trying, and every time he does it, I will allow him finish it, and then I'll cut, and I'll go to him. I said, remember I told you at the beginning that I wasn't going to be expecting this. And so again, it's communication, but that's for an older person. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that, because I believe when people ask me what's the job of a director, I say a director is a manipulator. So if I'm doing that for that particular character, it's because I believe I need to manipulate him in a way that he feels like, oh, okay, this person still appreciates me. Just my goal is to get what I need out of him, and then he can leave my set. I'm not there to fight. If we get into an argument, it's going to waste my production time. So yes, so my goal is to go where I want out of him. So I keep going back politely and saying this. For another actor, my approach could be different. Just as sometimes when actors are acting and they're not getting things right, you have to know when maybe you have to shout, or sometimes you have to go and pet the person. So it's just based on all of those things. So I think it's actually the wrong time. And without trying to sound too nice or too polite, it's the wrong time when you are filming for anybody. It doesn't matter who the person, except it's your DOP who you have this vision with, who's making a suggestion. Because the director and the DOP are like the number 1 and 2, 5 and 6 on set, making sure the vision comes out exactly the way they've planned and all that. But an actor coming to tell a director, I think that's a huge anomaly. That's just my point of view.
Hello?
Yeah, you have the floor.
Okay.
Victor, are you still with us? I think. Victor?
You can go ahead with your comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, for me, I was trying to say that, hi, Stanley. I don't know if we're getting jammed or not, or if I can actually continue talking.
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly, and you're
all right, okay. Okay, yeah. So I think the question the guy is asking, actually, my answer to the guy is that this happens when you don't actually plan, right? And most of the time, a lot of people go on set without planning, which is what this masterclass is all about the fact that you need to know your story and plan. So, I mean, for instance, Stanley, you will not agree that, to an actor's suggestion because you know you've already planned. And if you plan, an actor won't even come to you with a suggestion except he knows that it is extremely, extremely important. But for me, the way I actually work is that if an actor gives me a suggestion, if it is a good suggestion, we can actually have conversation about it, because story for me, even on location, is not too rigid. Like, you can actually be a little flexible, but at least before an actor will talk to me, he will know that what he has to say is important because of the level of planning that I always put into work. So I think the main problem that mainstream Nollywood faces sometimes is just that people don't really plan, and when actors see that you've not really planned, they're going to start toying around, and everybody's actually going to start suggestion. Not even just the actors, but every member of the crew will actually want to tell you something that they feel is the way to approach the story. So planning is really key, and that's why this masterclass is very important to make notes. Thank you.
God bless you, Kenneth. In fact, that's my own. That's the way I feel about the whole thing. But I think, again, talking about flexibility, when maybe we're on break, and this is for my entire crew, and I tell people, I say, you know what, we're filming, we know what we want to achieve, and I know there are times when, because the guys who work with me, I typically work with the same people over and over again, and they know the things that are going on in my mind. So we might be filming, and maybe we're preparing for the shot, and I'm setting up my lights, and I'm doing my settings, and giving the direction before we call the shot. And one of my guys can just come and say, bros, see, you get one bed where you perch for that window there. say, we for just carry that bed, join the shot, because they know I like crazy things like that. And yes, yeah, but that's coming from someone who understands me and what I like to achieve, and he knows that that thing will add to it. Not an actor coming to say, oh, can we do this way in the middle of the shoot? I think if it comes maybe during a break time or maybe when we're not actively filming, it's something that is more receptive than someone in the middle of a shoot coming to give you instruction or direction. Or this is more like the actor now giving the director directions. That's just the way I see it. So
Hi,
you have to
Stanley.
talk, please. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, so my thinking is, as much the thing about it is directors give direction, and you guys said it all about the function of planning. I sense conflict between actor and director. It's not it's beyond even our industry. I think it's a global situation. I hear it's a very famous director who's eminently very well prepared, had big problems with his lead, for many reasons, and it led to a lot of reshoots. This is a Hollywood situation. So what I typically would do in that kind of situation is, having had chemistry meetings, in which you've kind of beforehand met with the actors and kind of laid out a map of where it is. And in some way, you create a situation where the actor needs you for sustenance, especially if it's a serious actor. So if you've met with them and they kind of know that this director kind of knows the film from beginning to the end, the only thing they can do is lean into your energy and go with what you have. So there's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of before the sets or before the shoot work that would probably need to be done for you to build that trust and the intimacy that's necessary between you and the actor. So the actor doesn't come, from an emotional space that may be Lagos traffic or relationship issues, which can happen on set or it can happen, there. But they've already kind of have like a map for where the character is at any point in time, so that they're able to give you a lot of constructive, feedback. And I go, can I try it this way? It's not like they want more screen time or they want to do something they've always thought was cool, but it's more like they know the vision for the film and they want to lean into that energy a little more. Thanks. Don't talk.
Nice one, Tolu. I think let me even give an experience I had recently in my last movie, A Tune Away. So we're having the pre-production meetings, and one of the supporting actors told me, "Oh, I'm looking at the character Bible, and you say my character is melancholic." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, but look at," and she said, "But when I look at the way she dresses and all those stuff, it doesn't portray the fact that she's melancholic." And I said, okay, look at the scenes back to back, because for that production, even with the dressing and the colors of what people are wearing, I broke them down to say, you know what, this is why you're wearing this in this scene. This is why you're wearing this. And when your emotions begin to change, your outlook and your dressing begins to change too. So I had to take her through the journey and say, you know what, the character's innate personality is still there, but she's mixing up with other characters. And I'm using what she's wearing and the tones and the pantones to interpret, okay, her relationship with these other people and what it's becoming. You understand? So she's melancholic, so she's always greeny, bluish, and all those hueish. And then she begins to mix up with a guy who is sanguine and choleric. And then things begin to change, both in the color of what she's wearing and the style and the dress of what she's wearing, because she falls in love with the guy who is choleric. So again, I had to tell her, okay, this is why, even though she's melancholic, and this is why she has to begin to dress like this from this point of the movie. So if you notice from the beginning, she doesn't dress like that. Her colors are like this. But at this point, when she begins to fall in love with this guy who is a choleric, then all these things begin to happen. And she's like, oh, now I understand why. So but those are all in pre-production. So I think one of the strong emphasis we need to talk about in this session is the place of pre-production, proper pre-production, because I just realized that many times people don't even bother with pre-production. You just go on set. And when you're on set without pre-production, you're working anything can happen. Any suggestion can just crop up from nowhere because people can notice that at some point in time, this director is confused, doesn't know what to do next, and then people begin to suggest. So we have Mr. Okhai back, so I'll just step aside now.
Much. My iPhone roasted. So I had to get my other phone to use. That's what happened. I'm sorry about it. So basically, I think what we must all agree upon is the importance of communication in passing across our vision, effective communication, so to say. Because unless we can communicate effectively, these conflicts will begin to come. So which means as a director, one of your key qualities must be the ability to be able to, first you're a team player, you must carry everybody along. Then you must be able to sell your vision. That's leadership. That's why you're the head of the team. Because basically everybody's working towards what you have in mind. And for everyone to be on board, then you must communicate. I'm glad Stanley brought up the issue of pre-production. So you do that. This is where you have all your discussions and everything that it is that you want to do. Everybody makes their suggestions at that point. Very important. But you must. I think we probably should have talked a little bit about the qualities of the director as well. You have to be firm and sure about what you want. Most times when you see people who are either shouting on set or being disagreeable as directors or aggressive, it may just be because they obviously have lost it, so it's not, what is important is to be able to effectively carry everyone along with your vision because they are team members. If you look at it and say, oh, everything is in my head, I'm the only one that knows this thing, then nobody else, if people don't know, they cannot make contributions. Okay, like Stanley just talked about, the first, now we're looking at is using colors, to, in his interpretation to tell his story. Now, of course, obviously, if art department is not in the picture, then they don't know. They just bring whatever they want, but all that would have been communicated, and then you know exactly when to use them. And it's for the actors also to understand why. You may think it's not important, but it's not too much. It's not overreaching. There are times though when you may need to withhold an information from an actor because, you can either give or withhold depending on the kind of reaction that you want from them. So I think all of that is very important, but key is communicating this vision. You must know what you want in your mind's eye, see it, but you must be able to communicate it very, very effectively. Roya was talking then, I can't quite remember at what point I got off when she was talking about. Roya, can you just take me back a bit? Some of the things you said I may have missed, when you were talking about actors, because I wanted to make a contribution after you finished, but I think I lost it.
Oh, I'm here. Well, actually, when you were gone, a lot of people made contributions, including Kenneth and Stanley. I think we basically all said that if the director is very well planned and focused on his story and the way he wants to tell it, on the way he wants to shoot his film, then and if he's done his preparation work with the actors, maybe those kind of conversations would have come up during the planning stage. Stanley was saying how he does not like any comments from actors during shoots, and I can totally understand that because there's a lot of pressure during that time. There's a lot of things to focus on. You don't want to hear anybody else's opinion. You've got your plan all set out. So even for an actor to make any comment, it has to come in the right time, and it has to come from a place that they know is very, very important to the story. And that's only if they understand what is important to the story because of that communication you mentioned, because the director really knows. It all goes back to what you said. Know your story and you do your planning well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now let me talk, because I think this is a sore point in these parts here. If we spend a little more time talking about actors too, I don't think it's too much. There are different kinds of actors, you know, and it's important that you know who you're working with. You know, a situation where an actor is imposed on a director without his input, director, because at that point there's a psychology, and I wish we had producers. I don't know if we have producers with us here. It's very, very important that the director has a say on who is on his set. It's very, very important. A situation where, I'm using a Nigerian situation now, where an actor feels he's not beholden to the director but to the producer, or is there at the pleasure of the producer, it could create problems, both in terms of you know, timing, on-set discipline, taking to notes, and doing whatever it is. I'm taking instructions. You know, of course, if you're a good actor, you will take instructions. You will not. Discipline is a hallmark of acting. That's very, very important. So I think that, you know, it's important when you know the kind of actors that you're working with. I'll give you a small example. I am told, I've never worked with him, that Peter Edochie, no matter what you do, he will tell you, if you have a role that requires shaving of beards and you do require him to do it, perhaps you better look elsewhere. It is important to have an idea about what people can do, will do, or will not do, even when you are when you are onboarding any actor, which means when you are discussing with them, you are letting them know these are some of the expectations. You know, some of this communication is very, very important, because this is what you have in mind, this is what you want to do. Can the actor do it? Because it's important. If they cannot, you will get on set and you'll waste valuable time. One day lost in a production, people just say, it's a lot of money, logistics, hotel bills, welfare, so many things that you lose. So you don't need one actor messing up your production. So it's important, very, very important, that we find you understand who it is you're working with, their temperaments. If you must use them, then you must manage them effectively, or else have someone who can manage them very effectively. I mean, there are sets, for instance, where the director, okay, if he's very, very temperamental and he cannot deal with actors very well, make sure you have an AD that is very, very good, that has a good relationship with them and can manage them. Otherwise, you might have problems on your set. So I think that's very important, because whatever it is we're saying today, two key things: knowing what you want, first of all, and communicating it effectively, and getting the people that can help you achieve what you want effectively. I'm open to more questions. I've not been looking at questions, but maybe some. Yeah. Right.
My president, please, can I say something more
Right.
to?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to. I am the person who asked the question that has brought about the so many suggestions.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, like the area I wanted to point at is what you just said about the producer.
Yeah.
No, the reason I asked that question is what happened to me recently in the last movie I just finished.
Okay.
And I had this issue, and prior to that time, I called. The script was sent to the actors, because the producer actually contacted me, and then contacted the actors. You know, and I said, okay, fine, they are okay for the roles. And then the actor didn't call me to find out if there is any issue or whatever concerning a particular scene or something. But then I felt maybe we were cool. And then we went on set, we were filming, and then it got to a particular scene. After blocking the scene, the actor didn't even call me aside or something. And then the next thing is,
Sorry, Prince, you went on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
Me?
No,
Is that
Prince, he was in the middle of talking and then he went mute.
I think he's lost his connection. I think he's lost his connection.
Oh. Oh, he's back. Prince? No?
I don't think he's back. Mr. Okhai, can I just come in?
Yeah, please.
Hello, I'm here. I'm back on.
Okay, Prince
The
is
network
back.
was bad.
Yes,
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
loud and clear.
Okay, so and then we went on set. And so we had this particular scene I was supposed to shoot. After blocking the scene, the actor came to me and said, "Director, please let's do this thing this way. I think if we do it this way, it will be better. This is practical. This is that." And I told the actor, I said, I don't want to call the actor's name. I said, "This is how I want it. This is the picture. This is the vision I'm seeing." And then the next thing, the producer came to me and was like, "Director, please, time is going. Stop arguing with the actor. If he wants it his way, please do it like that. Let's shoot." I'm like, "Are you for real? This is not. I don't work like this and everything." He said, "Then you shouldn't allow me to contact you in the first place." You know. Then the next thing the actor said was, "If it is Director Cyril, leave him. He's too stubborn. This is why whenever it comes to him, whenever they call him, I barely come because he doesn't listen to suggestions from the actors." You know. So we're talking about communication ahead of time, and somebody talked about pre-production and everything. It's good. Yes, you do that. If after seeing the script, there's something that maybe you feel that you need to let the actor know that you feel maybe he might find it awful or somehow to do in the story, you can call and discuss. Yeah, we do that. But in a case where you see the script and then you expect the actor to call you and say, "Oh, director, this particular scene is not going to go well with me. How do we do it?" And no calls like that. And then this scene is coming up. That's usually the issue sometimes. So the producer, the point I'm trying to bring here is that the producers as well, they have a role to play in this. Talking about the producers and the executive producers now. Because it was so embarrassing to me. And then the next thing the actor said was, let's shoot. How he wants it, let's shoot. You know. So, but then it was embarrassing to me. So what I want to bring out here in everything is, I think the producer has a great role to play when it comes to situations like this. Thank you.
Okay. While we are busy blaming producer, we should look in the mirror as well. I'll tell you why. I think it's important. You see, this is what happens when we jump on every single job that comes. If we take time to invest more in ourselves and pick and choose the jobs that we do, not just do subsistence filmmaking, because it's important to determine what kind of filmmaker do you want to be. Do you want to be a filmmaker of just survival? Okay, I just want to be putting bread on my table. Or do you want to be a filmmaker that people will respect, whose craft people will respect? It's important. What happened will not happen to it's not everybody that would happen to. I think that if you begin to pick the jobs that you do, spend enough time, it could start from your own jobs. If you do your own job thoroughly, if you have money and you can do your own job and you do it thoroughly, it comes out the way you would like to shoot and people see it, respect begins. You must train, very, very important. You must read wide. You must watch other, how do I put it, other filmmakers as well, so that you can begin to build your brand and then earn some respect. When a situation where that actor behaved the way he did, probably because he just looked at you and felt, who is this one? Not because you are not any person of note, of course not. But you see, when we take just any job, that's what happens. The producer must have sufficient respect for you to have your input into even the choice of actor, you know? And when the actor knows that you have an input in the choice of actors, then or who acts on the film, then respect begins from there. But if anybody just trusts at you, then where is your vision? Because you are working with the producer's vision, not your own vision. Is that the actor that would have helped you actualize? Although I heard you say he asked you if he could bring a few people. I'm just saying this generally. Would that act, is that the actor that will help you fit into? And you see, in talking about it, your vision is not just beyond what is on the screen. What helps you to achieve what is on the screen? If you go and get an actor that you cannot work with, that will spread bad energy on set, it's like a virus. It's going to affect you. So I think it is very, very important that you work with people that you have good vibe with. You might say I can work with just anybody, but that's not the case, because what you are doing, you are telling your story. You are telling a story. You are working with a team. People will help you. You won't put somebody who will sabotage your team in your team if you are going somewhere, if you're having an objective. And this is what it is, an objective. You have a goal, you're going somewhere. Who are those that will help you get there? You are looking for an excellent editor, an excellent DP, who you can communicate with, who understands you, who, if you tell something, they know what you want and they will give it to you. They will interpret what you have in your mind very well. You need actors who will help you interpret it. So it's important, because when we begin to do anything goes, this is the result. This is what happens, So I think it's important, one, that we build our capacity, build our brand, know what we want, and insist on it. And any producer that is hiring you, you must have a talk with them. They must respect you and respect your craft. If all they are looking for is just anybody available to do formula, then honestly, this will continue. But I'm glad that, some of us are in this space and talking about this so that we will know, what to do going forward.
So I just wanted to say something that I think everybody should go back on the website and go through the session we had with Kenneth, because many of these things, even though he didn't dwell on it extensively, the way we are doing in very quick bullet points, Kenneth actually talked about this responsibility of the director and how he does support himself. You understand, and how he wants to take charge. So I think we should look at that. But beyond that, I just want to say that it's important that the director, you do a introduction to every cast and crew member you're working with to start a project, so that way they understand your do's and don'ts, to understand the personality, understand the expectations, and by all means, if you can, which you should be able to do, insist on an MOU where you state out the things that you must get. For me, if I'm doing anything in my personal project, the producer or executive producer has to sign that I have total creative control, both on, offset, and in post-production. I think that's something that we need to look at. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Farakame Odon. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Okay, yeah. I'm so happy to be here and be listening to what everyone has been saying. Like one thing about director-actors relationship, it has to do with, like what you said, effective communication. Effective communication is okay. It's very, very good. Like Stanley talked about, we're going back to the website and all the rest of them doing it. Sometimes you read, but the practicality of you enforcing your direction is the key to a successful production. You can't just do something out of the vacuum. You must understand your script. It's just like what Hitchcock said, that there are three things a director should know. The first thing is the script, the second thing is the script, and the third thing is the script. You must make sure you actually sift your post-production very well before you embark on it. Because sometimes even the problem starts with weak directors. We go there with ego, we go there with knowing it all and all the rest of them. I'm telling you, like Stanley called the director a manipulator, but I still want, yes, the director is the manipulator that manipulates the artist, but him too, he's a repairer in the sense that, look, while shooting is going on, so long as that flexibility and that fluidity is there must always be a backstory. The backstory comes like a two-way traffic flow in the sense that, and the director can still go to the actor and still talk to the actor secretly or behind, give him some backstories and all the rest of them. The actor too can still come to the director and still talk to him. It's just like what Tommy Lee Jones said, some actors, they try to let me say, push that the artistic greed in order for them to stand tall on every location. Yeah, tall on every location. But that's just it. We cannot be able to let me say let that alone. But it depends on how we pass the message. We must stand tall. We must do everything. And again, some directors, Tommy Lee Jones, he said one thing which I actually like. You don't compare an actor with another actor. You don't tell an actor to do this like this other guy. If really you want him to do it, you know how to pass that message. You know how to communicate effectively for him to understand what you're trying to sell to him in order for him to do what is required. Everybody wants to outshine in a set. As far as the director is the key man, is the boss man on every set, I believe. If really he knows his onion, he's going to carry the day no matter what. So that's just it. Thank you very much.
That's a perspective, but I still believe that at the end of the day, even though the director needs to be flexible, there are times when that flexibility becomes a problem on the film set, and we all just have to agree with that. And I always use this analogy when I tell people this. When a surgeon, the head surgeon, is performing a surgery on a patient and it's a life and death situation, can an intern just tell him, "Oh, Oga, what if you use hacksaw instead of this thing?" That's not the time, because before you prep people for surgery, just hold on, you prep people for surgery, and the prepping for surgery has to do with the interns and all the people who are going to work with the head surgeon, and they all discuss and they agree what they are going to do. The time when the surgery is ongoing is not the time for suggestions. That's my point. And if you introduce yourself well enough to your casting before you people went on set, they will understand that the time it's not the time when they should make those suggestions. That's just why I'm saying. I'm not saying you should never listen to suggestions.
No,
you get what I'm trying to say? I'm just saying there's a time for everything, and the time when you are busy filming is not the time. Like the situation the guy gave, that for me is just outright disrespect to the director, which should not be condoned.
Right.
And if the producer condoned that kind of disrespect for the director, that means the producer had no right, no business bringing that director on set, because the producer has no respect for the director. That's just my contribution.
No, you're right. It's just like I'm sorry, let me just bring this back story because we went for an election, so when it comes to the time of we trying to cast our vote, somebody, a very big name in Nollywood, that have been seeing me every day, even saw me that same morning before the election. On that election ground, he wanted to now convince me. I told him, no, we're in a war front. This is not the time. You should have done it before now. I know what you mean. Suggestions are always open. Most of them, they are very lazy. They jump from one set to the other. And you yourself, too, you must actually try to deal with that. Because all these actors, they jump from one set to the other. They are not prepared. The Boy Scout motto does not even affect them. Like, I'm a Boy Scout. Be prepared. I'm always prepared. I look at my script. I read my script more than even 200 times before even going on set. Jot notes down. I remember some years back when I was taking lecture with, I think, Tolulepe, Ajaya, and all the rest of them. It made us to understand how believable a visionary filmmaker can be in the trenches. So that's just it. I love learning from people. I love listening from people and all the rest of them. That's why I'm still here. If I tell you the kind of notes I've actually jotted down from you guys, we're all great here, I'm telling you. And I'm so happy to be here. Stanley, kudos, Tony, kudos, and all the good people here. I'm so happy. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
In the ongoing discourse, if you allow me to say something, in the ongoing discourse, I think one of the major things we are looking at here right now is that there are different kind of directors in the market.
Yeah,
and sometimes you can't blame some of the artists, because I've been on a set of a fellow director. I just went to visit him and I was shocked at what he was doing. Because even blocking the set, he wasn't. All he does is that, okay, you sit there, and he thinks that is blocking, and then he walks out. He doesn't even stay for them to take the shot. He doesn't even look at. He didn't even have any film village or whatever set up. All he wanted was get this shot stop. So if you have an artist who is used to always, suggesting to the directors to say, oh, why don't you do it like this? Why don't you do it like that? And then he comes to you and he says such a thing. Sometimes you can blame him. I've also worked with a director with an artist who is seemingly big in the industry. And when we were working, at the end of the day, he told me that he wanted to do more jobs with me. And I asked him why. He said, well, that this is the very first time somebody's actually telling him what to do on set. That every other place he has been, that they'll tell him, oh, are you not ABC? Go ahead, do it, you know what to do. So when we look at it, we find out that basically what we are discussing are for directors that are trained, that know what they want to do. But the president said when he was talking, if it's many of those guys that are into subsistence, filmmaking, which unfortunately, accounts for almost 60 to 70% of the directors we have on set, there's nothing much we can do about that. So while we are looking at all that, all we need to do is to continue to try to, fine-tune our craft, fine-tune our deliverables. The beautiful thing is that currently great films are coming out from directors in Nigeria. And the more we do that, then the more the producers, because it's also an anomaly that it's only in Nigeria that producers think that it's actually the artists that sell the films. Let's be frank. They don't recognize the input of the director. They don't even recognize that it is directors that discovers this artist. So a producer will, have a script and will tell you who he wants to act, whether the person fits that role or not, and tells you that is the person who will sell the film. So basically, that's my own contribution to this discourse. Thank you.
Hello. Can I say something, please? Yeah. Good morning, sirs. My name is Okhai. It has been a very eventful morning for us. I want to thank all the speakers and the contributors for what you've said. I want to quickly add something to what Mr. Stanley said before I give my point. Talking with the analogy he gave about the surgeons and in the surgeons that are about to maybe perform a procedure. One of the things that I think we should all know is that we should not get too familiar with doing the job that we do not prepare. Some persons have gotten too familiar to shooting that most times they want to take every film like the last film they did. I think I will just give some information about how surgeons prepare for a particular procedure. If, for example, especially in teaching hospitals, if, for example, Thursday is the theater day, the day they go to surgeries, on Fridays, there is always a meeting between the surgeons and the team members to discuss about the surgery they are about to carry out. Even if it is a surgery that is as simple, that is as very common as appendectomy, what they do is to sit down and discuss about the surgery, using the person they are about to perform the surgery on. How old is this surgery, this patient? What are the other conditions this patient may have? Does this patient have some other comorbidities? Is he hypertensive? Is he diabetic? Should he take extra care? Is this patient a laborer that will go back to work a few days after this particular surgery? Is this patient the only child of his parents? So at the end of the day, during that meeting, they humanize whoever they're going to perform that surgery on. They now see the person as an individual. They know the person in and out and discuss about the few things they are going to do. So when they get to the theater the next day, they are performing the surgery on a human being. They know about the various peculiarities and about that person, and they do it. Most times we are too used to shooting films that we do not know about the peculiarities about that particular project we are working on. I'm very excited that everybody has spoken about pre-production, and just as we respect actors that know what they are doing, maybe because of the questions they ask us, that is how some actors also rate us. Some actors may make some suggestions or tell us some things or ask some questions because they want to know whether we are leading them right. The average actor is like somebody who is blindfolded. So you want to know, am I safe in your hands? Are you going to lead me to the river? You may just send it when you send a script to an actor, for example, and a few days later you get a call from the actor, or maybe when you call the actor and they ask some questions that you've already discussed in pre-production with your crew members. There's this joy that you have when you answer that question. There's this joy that you have that, man, this actor is serious. This actor knows what he's doing. And whenever you are discussing with an actor and the actor expresses like he's on the same page with you or understands what you're saying, you are happy. That is the same thing that happens to some actors, especially when they've not worked with you before. So some of those questions may just be traps. Some of those suggestions may even be traps to know whether this man knows what he's doing. And so I believe pre-production, like most persons have said, is the most important. It is something that we should not take for granted. Just as an actor prepares, the director prepares even more. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I think Joe K also has been raising his hands.
Yes, yes. Thank you. My hands have been. I want to appreciate all our great speakers. Fantastic. I've learned so much from what I've heard this morning. I just want to make an input, and I think this dichotomy between the director, producers, and actors has been there, especially in the Nigerian scene. We've seen it a lot, but I still believe that our roles, in as much as our roles, people know about the different roles on set and all that. I think our roles continuously we must emphasize our roles as directors. We must not be shy. We must make sure in every of our pre-production meetings we emphasize our roles, because these scenarios will always happen. They always come on set, because every movie is a reflection of the director. Every movie is a reflection of the director. Like I would say, show me a movie and I will tell you, who the director is. Because director, just like in the balance of leadership, or we teach leadership, director is someone that is a leader. He knows the way and he shows the way. So just like you say that a visionless man is a motionless man. What you know, you don't spend time on it. What you know, you don't waste time on it. In an examination condition, when we were in school those days, those that know the particular course or knows those questions, know the answers, when they write fast. Even when they've answered, they can also call for extra script. They will still finish before you. Why? Because they know it. So directors that don't know their onions will always be the ones that will be bamboozled on set, be confused. One suggestion will come, you are either here, not there. So but whatever it is that we've experienced in the Nigerian system, but we must know that directors are the eyes, they are the ones that the pipeline to the success of every production. So just like every one of our speakers have said, the place of pre-production as for me, as not for our pre-production, challenges are there, I know. But then you must have thorough pre-production. If you can have a thorough pre-production, your production will be easier, and your post will be easier. Pre is for me is even the number one. The ideating process, every other process, suggestions, let them come. Because if a director knows what he's doing, he's going on set, not like a stage drama where you can just do anything, and because it's a live stage stuff, then it can pass. This is camera is there. They will cut it, you do it again. So you don't come and rehearse on stage. So most of our actors, sincerely, they've put themselves in the A list where they are not, so they don't prepare. They don't read their script. They don't pay attention to those details. And by so doing, they come on set and they want to suggest. No, so thank God for some directors that already know who they are. We must be firm. In as much as we are firm, you must also take it easy so that you don't also disrupt your production. There are some chaotic situations that can also disrupt the entire production. Monies have gone in and all that. In as much as there are contracts that have been signed, before everybody's head will be cool to come back again, sometimes it can also be time is there, time is going and all that. So a director is also a psychologist. You must also have people's skill. You must also know how to balance situation, communication, people's skill, and at every point in time, be in charge. Take that place of a leader, and I think everything will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just chip in something at this point. I think while we're talking about pre-production, it's important that during that period, the director, as you are handing scripts over to the actors, that you make it clear that if they have any questions about their rules, they should feel free to discuss with you. But more importantly, as you're handing scripts, I think, which is why you have character Bibles, for instance, the actors have to be able to ask questions, about their rules, about their interrelationships with fellow actors and all of that. That's very, very important. And be open, be accessible to answer whatever questions they might bring up. So that's very, very important, as well as other crew members, of course. And so other questions?
Okay, we have like 7 more minutes to the end of this session. But again, I must still emphasize that as much as possible, people should go back to the website and at least still follow the session that preceded this one, so that everything can become one full session altogether. I'm talking about the one that Kenneth handled, because some of the things we're talking about here, we're still talked about there, even though now this session is more open, is more interactive. But even though we didn't spend so much time talking about them in details, they were noted, and a combination of that and this would actually benefit anybody who goes straight. And I believe even beyond this, I think we should begin to look for forums where we can gather and look at each other in the eye and have some of these conversations face to face.
Okay, do we have more questions before? Okay, someone is asking about the website.
I'll put it in chat box now.
Okay, put it in the chat box so that people can get there. That provides the background and then the interactivity here as well. So while we're waiting for questions, I don't know if there's any. Let me see. Excuse me. I don't know if there are any. Okay, I think you can go and register at the website, then you'll be able to access it. So just a bit of a rehash for those who joined us a bit late. It's important. Basically, what we're saying here is that the director's vision is basically what his outlook is for the project. His direction for the project. You pick a script. You look at that script over and over, you need to take ownership of that script. How? What is it? What's the message why do you want to do this? Why are you passionate about this? Is this something you really want to do? Because unless you're passionate, it's not something that you can do. So if you're passionate about it, how do you want to tell your story? Story you want to tell? What genre do you want to, to adopt in telling your story? What techniques? What do you want to do? I give you a small example. A movie that we shot some time ago, Joy. It's in what's it called? It's on Netflix. If you go and look at that movie, part of it was shot in Benin City. It was shaky cam. Nobody who was on that set or related to that project, at least in Benin, knew that it was a movie. It was shot verite style, documentary style. You would never have known, but that is the direction. That is the way it was meant to be, and it made it more alive and made it more real. Now that is how the director has chosen to approach that. Somebody else may have decided to shoot it differently, and so. But for you to do that effectively, then I think it's important for people to trust your judgment, and for people to trust your judgment is either you have earned it, or even at that, you take time to explain to people why you're doing what you're doing for whatever reason, and then carry on board your crew members. That is very, very key. Carry on board your crew members, carry on board your actors, share the vision with them, give them an opportunity to ask questions, because if they don't ask questions, then they'll ask the questions on set, okay, which may just drag things. So let them know why you decide, why you want a particular palette for your art direction, for instance. Let them know why you want a particular mood. Discuss that with your DP. Have everything on board. But you cannot say any of this if you have not already seen the picture in your mind's eye. So the most important thing is to be able to see, first of all, that image, the total film in your mind's eye, and then to be able to see it scene by scene, and then communicate that vision. The way you communicate that vision, then their team members buy into it, and then they will help you actualize that thing that you have in your mind. Be a very good communicator, be a very good listener, at least at the pre-production stage, so that if there are ideas or any suggestions, you can onboard them and then, take them along with you. But very, very important, I think one of the takeaways from what we have done today is that, one, you must know what you want. And that comes from knowledge, from experience, and from, understanding your script very well. Read it over and over and over. Having understood what you want, then you must be able to communicate it and then bring on board a team that can help you actualize it. Only then can your vision be realized. Otherwise, you would have people who are coming to actualize their own vision through your film. You will get a cinematographer who wants to show off, his work of art through the camera. You will get a makeup artist who wants to show off the latest technique she has learned. You will get confusion on your set. So it's important to have a vision, communicate the vision, get a team that understands the vision and that can help you realize it. Do we have any questions or any other thing? Stanley?
Yes, we have just 1 minute.
I have one question.
In the session,
okay.
So you can let's quickly take the question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My name is Sylvester Sede. Thank you very much for the insights on this masterclass, and I must appreciate it. My question is simple. For a film that would have two co-directors, how best would you advise the approach to production itself, especially if they have different?
Okay. A film that has two directors is like you have a company that has partners. There's a vision statement for that company. What do they want to achieve? This is why communication is very important. What do you want to achieve? You would have had your discussions, about, how the look and feel of the film. It's like you and your DP talking, So when you have two directors, there's no confusion. You must be a director who is aligned, two directors whose visions are aligned on the particular project. They must be equally, how do I put it, emotionally invested in it. They must want to do it. They must see it from the same perspective. Otherwise, like the Bible says, two cannot work together except they agree. So this is where the issue of pre-production is very important. That's where you offload or your vision and fine tune it. What at that point you have a discussion. how do we want this? What is the creative direction that we want for this? Who are the people that we think can help us achieve it? Calling the shots is the list of it. Pre-production is everything. If you do not plan properly, shooting, there's nothing. What are you shooting? You're just doing a formula. So if your vision is aligned, then you can work well together. But if they are not aligned, then obviously you can't work together.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the absence of any other comments, I think I'll just allow Mr. Okhai to round up the session so that we can prepare for the next one starting at 12:15. That session will be talking about stunts and fights for fame. So for those of us who might want to know like the most current practices and best practices for stunts and fight sequences and all those dangerous things that you might want to do on the film set for a strong movie, you might want to join that session. So Mr. Okhai, back to you, sir.
Okay. So what I said earlier was like a sort of summary, but what I want to say basically is I think the best thing for any director, I think it's a book also that someone say a director prepares. It's very, very important. If you are not prepared, you are already prepared for failure. So it's important as a director, and preparation consists of, studying, mastering your craft, understudying other directors, reading far and wide. And reading far and wide does not only involve books on directing, because if something comes from medicine and you don't have a proper understanding, you would have no input. Okay, so it's important as a director that you read very far and wide, be a voracious reader. The same thing with films, binge on movies, so you're able to get different ideas from it. And so when you get a script, you have a very wide perspective, and so you're able to borrow elements that you can infuse to build your own unique picture and tell your story. As much as possible, don't get on any set if you're not very prepared. Be friends with everyone. When I say friends now, be friendly with everyone you're working with, but be firm. You are the one in charge. Nobody else is in charge of that picture. If you're not careful, it will be hijacked. So that's why you must prepare, and you must earn the respect of your producers and your cast and crew. Very important, work with people, not just people that you know who will say yes sir to you. They must be very knowledgeable, very good people in terms of their craft. But you must work with people who are also agreeable, so that when you say what you want, they understand it and they can help you interpret it very, very. So the essence of the vision of the director is to be able to convey what he has very effectively and get the end product with the desired result on that screen.
Thank you very much, sir. So we'll be ending this session now to prepare for the next one. If I'm just going to say anything, I'll just say a director without a vision will only bring about division on the film set. Thank you, everyone.
You have said it perfectly.
And see you at the next session.
That's a perfect epilogue.
Thank you, sir.